Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gootecks here with the very first episode of the Denjin Video Podcast. My first guest today is Pyrolee, and we're going to be talking about SBO and Yun and mindsets and tips and all sorts of things like that because we're trying to raise money for SBO because myself, Justin Wong, and KO Fiend have qualified to fly over there and go to Japan, and on the 19th and 20th, July 19th and 20th, there's going to be a qualifier at Family Fun Arcade in Granada Hills, California, for the West Coast team. So we're trying to raise money. We're trying to raise $4,000 for plane tickets because this year the tickets aren't covered. So I'm going to be putting out a series of talks with top players such as Pyrolee, Kenai, Amir, KO Fiend, guys like that, so that we can help the community get better, provide some value, and give something back, as well as hopefully raise some money for plane tickets for Japan because the tickets are really expensive and they're not covered this year. So if you are willing to donate and have a couple bucks to spare, you can go to the blog at denjin-video.com/blog, or you can donate directly through PayPal. The address is donations@denjin-video.com. So here we go. Here's the interview with Pyro. Okay, welcome to Denjin Video Podcast number 1. I am Ryan Gutierrez, a.k.a. Gootecks, and we're here today with my first guest, Pyrolee, a.k.a. Michael Fossen.
Hello.
So, Pyro, we're here because we are, well, I'm going to SBO.
Okay.
And you most likely, well, for sure will most likely be playing, at least, in the qualifiers.
Right.
And you've gone the past how many years?
I've gone every year, and I believe that's 5 years now?
5 years.
I kind of lost
this is
track,
number 6. Okay.
SBO 6.
Okay, so you're going to be playing in the qualifiers, for sure.
Right.
Can we talk a little bit about your team?
Well, my team right now is kind of still up in the air. I mean, originally, 100%, it was supposed to be me, Sextaro, a.k.a. Kenai, a.k.a. Beast, and finally Amir, like the dream team, the super dream team. But, I mean, I don't know. It looks like Amir's not going to be going now.
Oh.
So, my first choice, I don't really have a first choice, but it looks like Vic's probably going to be on my team. A few other choices like Yi and stuff, I'm not really sure if that's going to work out because they have other stuff going on.
Oh,
but definitely it's between Yi and Vic, leaning towards Vic.
Nice.
Right, because
Yi is like going to China or something.
Right, and I'm not saying like Yi or Vic is better than one another. They're both really great, but that's what it looks like right now.
Yeah. What about, past teammates like Frank or Ricky?
Well, Frank doesn't even play anymore, and Ricky, I don't even think he's going because he was supposed to team up on Justin's team originally, but then he couldn't go.
Yeah.
So
that was how I got the spot.
Then Ryan slipped in.
All right, so what we're trying to do here is basically provide for the community and for all the players who, don't get a chance to, maybe don't have a big Third Strike community in their area like we're lucky to have here. So what we're looking to do is give back to the community, level up some players, and at the same time hopefully raise a couple of bucks to pay for our play tickets.
I'm all for it. Anything
and
to
go
help.
to Japan.
Anything to help with the tickets this year.
Because I don't know if you're, well, I really wasn't keeping up with it, but, there was some drama and the tickets aren't paid for this year as they were in years past.
I know, and this is like the year where the tickets are the most expensive.
Right,
too.
because of gas, the economy, and all these other horrible things.
The cheapest I ever paid for a ticket in the previous SBOs, or the cheapest that a ticket was available for, was about like $380 round trip. And I mean, that's really cheap. And going through the same travel agency that we've gone through before, and other Japanese travel agencies, the cheapest I could find was like $900.
Wow.
So yeah, that's like 3 times the amount.
That is a huge chunk of change, and we are not made of money. So if anybody out there is willing to, peel off a couple of bucks, help send me, KO Fiend, Justin Wong, and possibly Pyro's team of Pyro, Kenai, and
determined.
and to be determined. Because it's an issue,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, family is taking care of 50% of the tickets this year,
right?
So that, I mean, if the tickets are like, let's say $1,000,
I still have to pay $500 per person. That's a lot.
So yeah, we're not made of money. But anyways, so let's talk about like the nitty gritty of playing Third Strike, playing Yun. You've been playing Yun for how long?
Since '99 when it came out.
Holy crap!
So is that? That's like almost 10 years, isn't it? Wow, I'm a veteran.
Yeah. Okay, so 9 years of playing Third Strike, and that makes you how old?
I'm 24. I'm going to be 25 this year.
Holy crap! Okay.
Right. I started playing when I was, I believe, 16.
Yeah. Wow.
Junior in high school.
Junior in high school, and where would you play?
I first started at this little card shop in Arcadia, California called Treasure Island.
And what street was that on?
That was on Duarte and 2nd in Arcadia, California.
Okay, I know where Duarte is.
And it's actually funny because inside the same like mini mall, like Chinese plaza kind of thing, there was another arcade there called Action Arcade.
Oh, okay. Action Arcade.
And it's within the same plaza, right? So, after we graduated from Treasure Island, we would walk over to Action, and it was like a whole another world.
Wait. Okay, so when you didn't know how to play, you played at Treasure Island, and once you leveled up, you got to go to Action?
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I went to Treasure Island to like collect cards and play card games and stuff.
Like Magic?
Yeah, Magic and...
Oh, I love Magic.
And then they had like comic books there and stuff too,
Okay, so it was like
and
nerd
then,
heaven.
And then I was like, wow, there's video games here too and everything. I didn't even like play... I never played any Street Fighter. The only one was World Warrior when I was a little kid at the liquor store. Yeah.
So,
and then I was playing, cards and stuff. And there was Second Impact there. And I put a quarter in and I was like, wow, this game's sick.
Wow. So this was like 97, 98?
It was like, I don't know. Yeah, like 97, 98. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I put a quarter in and I was like, wow, this game's cool. I want to play some more. And the next day or like the next week it was gone and replaced with Third Strike.
Oh, okay.
And then I put the first quarter in for Third Strike ever.
You
and
put the first quarter into the first machine at Treasure Island?
That ever came out. It was in 99. I'm
Wow.
sure they just got the game. And then I was like, this is the greatest game ever.
Wow.
Just from the first time I sat down, I was like, this is the greatest game.
What did you like about... Okay, what was so great about Third Strike compared to Second Impact?
Like, Second Impact, when I first played, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I hadn't played any
Things
of Street
changed a lot
Fighter.
in Street Fighter.
Yeah, I like the animation and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, cool, And then Third Strike, I don't know, it was like Second Impact just times 2, like squared. It was like, it moved better, the animation was better.
Right.
It didn't feel as cartoony, it felt real. Mm-hmm. And I think I played Ken.
Of course.
Of course, Ken.
You had to play Ken.
Right. But once I saw Yun's like chain combos, once I saw a jab, short, strong, dash punch, I was like, this is the character I want to play.
Wow. So were there any other good players back then? How long did it take you to graduate to Action?
You know what? Like, I think until I started going to Family, like 3 or 4 years later, I was a horrible player.
Wow.
I
So
was really
you were
bad.
playing at Action for 3 years before. What made you go out to Family in the first place?
Okay, so this is how it went. I played at Treasure Island for a few years, and then every so often we'd walk over to Action and play, because at Action it was an actual arcade. It was like dark and imposing, and there was like Asian gangsters all over the place. It was like a typical old school arcade, like a Southern Hills Golfland kind of thing.
Right.
So, I went there and that was great, and I remember the first time I ever saw someone parry like a Shoryuken in the air. It was like,
whoa,
yeah, unbelievable. I was
breaking
like,
down.
Do that?
Yeah,
really?
like how?
So I went.
Exciting times.
It really was. I was like, wow. And then, so we played there. And then I started to go on Shoryuken. I think I registered for Shoryuken in 2002.
So how did you hear about Shoryuken? Because back then, I mean...
honestly, I think I was talking to someone on like ICQ, and they told me Alex Valle was like the best Third Strike player. And I was like, I could beat that guy, because all I need to do with Ken is like strong, fierce, uppercut, and if I land that, I'm gonna win. You know, I had
Right,
no idea.
right, yeah,
at
of
all.
course,
No
of
idea
course.
at all. I thought that was like unstoppable.
That's it, right? But what else do you need?
So the guy's like, well, I'm like, how do I meet Alex Valle? And
Wow.
he's like, go on Shoryuken, you know, and you can find everything there. So I went on Shoryuken and I saw combo videos and I just saw everything and I was like blown
It was like
away.
a whole new world.
And everybody's like, Southern Hills Golfland, Golfland, Golfland. And I actually went to the wrong Golfland. I went to one in like Montebello and I'm like, they don't even have third strike here. And I was like, I was
the
all
one
let
off the
down.
freeway.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was the
Yeah,
Golfland
you
they
spent
were
a lot
talking
of time
about.
there.
But finally, one day I went to Southern Hills Golfland and I met some legends. I met Mike Watson for the first time.
Right.
And I saw him go short jab short with Ryu, number one super.
Wow.
Short jab short super.
Yeah.
And I was like,
How did he do that?
I am just out of my depth here.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
I was
like-
I saw Don Sneddon. I saw Gio for the first time, and I was just blown away. I was like, these guys are so great.
Wow. So all the legends of Street Fighter were at Southern Hills when you
It's just that one day I decided
to go.
Yeah.
Because some dude told you that you could go and meet and play Alex Valle if you went on SRK
Yeah.
and
And-
went to Southern Hills.
Ed Vaya wasn't there. He didn't show up.
Oh.
I was crushed.
But Watson was there.
Watson was there, and I remember seeing him from the Bang the Machine. I remember seeing him because I ordered the first USA versus Japan DVD that ever came out when the 5 USA players went over and faced Daigo. Real old video.
Was that still Third Strike? Or
That was Third Strike. Yeah, the first time the US ever went to Japan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd never been to Japan
No,
previous
it was-
to Third Strike?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
I'm not 100% sure. The only time I think Japan and the USA mingled was when Daigo came over for Alpha 3. But that was before my time.
And then killed
so I don't know.
everybody.
Right. Well, it was really close between Vaya. I think Vaya should have won that, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was up by like a round and a half or two games or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that was totally when I wasn't around.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, if you see that video, everybody's so young there. Vaya's so young, Watson's so
Oh
young,
my
everybody.
God.
But I went there, and that just sparked my interest even more. You know, because I was like, I didn't even understand what the game was about. I played Mike Burke, Hugo. He was there.
Okay, yeah, Mike
he
Burke.
was there.
Yeah,
he
haven't seen him in a
raped
long
me
time.
like with jumping gigas. And,
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like.
So these dudes were already like
Oh yeah, they were. I was
they were
like a
already
joke.
playing because
Yeah.
they've been playing Street Fighter for their entire lives, basically.
Yeah. And I was just like, I didn't even know.
Wow. Wow. So, back then, I mean, what was it like, being, the new guy?
I wasn't even like the new guy. I was like an unknown, like a nobody. I
Yeah,
just
you
showed
weren't
up
even
one
the
day.
new
they
guy.
Were like, they weren't even like, who's this guy? They
Right.
were like, I was a scrub, a random quarter putter upper.
So this was what, like 2002-ish?
Yeah, I think
right?
so, around
So
there.
then how long was it after going to Southern Hills that you actually learned, that you actually were able to play at their level?
Right. I can't really answer that because I think I've only been to Southern Hills like twice in my life.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
It was so far.
Uh-huh.
And,
Oh, yeah,
and I
definitely
had
far.
a horrible car at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I only went out there like once, and then I actually went out there one other time years later to play Alex Valle in a money match.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the famous Pyro versus Valle money
God,
match.
I was so bad, and I lost. I didn't lose too bad.
What were you playing to, and how
it
much
was
were you
like,
playing for?
I think it was minimum 5 games,
Uh-huh.
$20 a game.
$20 a
And
game.
I had to pay him $40, so
Oh.
I lost twice. I mean, that was the outcome at the end,
Wow. So who was he using? Was he?
He used Ken against my Yun. Yeah, and it was actually kind of funny because I didn't have to pay any money. King Rao at the time, who I had just met, he fronted the money for me.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but I let him down.
Oh, King Rao.
King Rao. And
Where
I actually
did
met
you
King
go?
Rao at Action Arcade once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's where we first met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ages ago.
Back in the day. But then, I first got started, like, actually competing and stuff. The first tournaments I ever went to were called the Game Zone X tournaments. They were in
And where were those?
Panorama City. That's, like, by Pacoima.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of,
that's way
it's
out
pretty
there.
ghetto, in there. But I would go anyways,
Uh-huh.
And that's when I first started meeting Gio, J.R. Rodriguez, Adolfo, Thomas Shin, A.K. Arlieth, Vic.
Okay.
They all started going there.
And this was 2000,
4? Maybe? I
2004?
don't know. I honestly don't remember.
2003,
That was a
2004.
long time ago.
They were already were they already really good?
Yeah, they were the tournament winners. Gio was unstoppable during then. JR was always second. Adolfo or Pyrolee were always third or fourth.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where were you coming in?
By that time, Yun was my main character, and I had started to learn the Ganajin combos then. From what I had seen Mester do against the USA players in that DVD.
The character-specific combos,
right,
like the really
and
complicated
just juggling
circles.
with the Ganajin. I never even knew that was possible.
Oh,
to
okay.
juggle, right. So I was like, this
was
is
a long time ago.
This is the character I want to be. You know, so I decided on that, and I started learning the combos and just learning the combos on. I think I had a Dreamcast. Yeah, I have a Dreamcast still, actually.
Wow. So was there any talk back then or realization when it came to tiers and the rank of each character in the game?
No, like, when I first started playing, no one ever said, Yun's top tier. No one ever said that. And I mean, Gio was always winning with Yang, and he could pick any character and probably win the tournament with.
Really?
JR was always Akuma. Adolfo was always Alex.
So, I mean, even with... Okay, so back then, it was anybody's game, basically.
It was Gio's game.
It was Gio's game with anybody.
Undefeated, always, for like years.
And what was it about him that made him so good?
I really can't say. He was just on another level than us,
Wow.
It's like saying, if I go to a random arcade now, why am I winning kind of thing.
Okay. Right. Because
like,
he was just way... So how was he able to, like, get above everybody else who he was playing
Not really sure. Just sometimes you have people that are just naturally talented, in the game.
And then what happened to him?
He played, we played, we all started to level up. He finally did lose. Vic actually broke his streak.
Vic, okay.
Broke his legendary streak in a Chun versus Chun-Li match.
Wow.
Vic was playing Chun at the time, yeah. And then he, after he was defeated, it was kind of like, he can be beaten, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like once someone finally loses, it was kind of similar to Justin Wong in Marvel. Once he lost in Marvel, then he's lost again.
Because it's like once the champ, or once you know that it can be done, then it's easier for everybody else to do it.
It was kind of like Rocky IV, the Russian. He was like, once he gets cut by Rocky, he's like, he's not a machine. He can be defeated. It was just like that.
Wow.
So that was funny.
So after Vic wins. And Gio kind of like stopped playing or kind of phased himself out?
Yeah, though Gio still played for a while, always still top tier Gio. He'd win tournaments and stuff like that. And then eventually I think just life caught up with him. He got a job, he graduated from college.
Was he a couple years older?
Yeah, he was a few years older.
Oh, okay. Right. No wonder.
So he just started working, and that was it. Haven't seen him since.
So he was part of like the original, was he at Watson and Valle's level?
He was the number one player, I'd say, in the USA.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was like the first generation American top tier player.
I would say so. Maybe I can't really say he was the best in the US because the first time he ever fought Ricky Ortiz when they came down, Ricky did beat him.
Oh, wow.
And Ricky had gone to Japan prior as well. And I heard Ricky was the first Robo-Chun. He brought Robo-Chun over to the USA.
Oh, I see.
So those guys never really matched till later on. But at the time that we were playing, Gio was the best.
Wow.
Without a doubt.
So him... Ricky, Valle, Watson, those dudes were like the first generation Third Strike.
First generation top tier.
Okay,
yeah,
and
I'd
then,
say so.
Probably,
you have a couple of people in Texas like Xian Chang. And
right,
like
of course.
Too, yeah.
Of course. But at least for, California.
Right, California was.
Yeah. Because, back then, who knew what was going on over there? Nobody knew.
Nobody.
There could have been like somebody 10 times more amazing than anybody's ever seen. And we would have never known back in the dark ages. So then, you guys, Vic, Arlieth, J.R. Rodriguez.
Yeah, Frank also was
Frank,
playing
of
there
course.
Too. Yeah. I think like back then, I never really met Frank in the early days because he wouldn't go to the tournaments that much. But yeah, he was always like a top tier player. That's what everybody said. Frank's like the best.
Wow.
Like when, up there. I remember when I first went to Family the first time, I went with Gio. He told me about it. He's like, we should go here because it's close to Game Zone X. So we went, and Frank was there, and Frank actually beat Gio in the casual matches we played. And I was like, who's this guy? Because like no one was touching Gio back then,
right?
Except for
Frank.
Yeah.
So when you guys would play, I mean, there was a period of where you guys were like coming up, and you guys are learning more about the game, and Vic, is discovering links and all this stuff. I mean, how did you guys like level up to where you guys were a couple years ago, and where only you're like the only one left now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not you and Vic. I mean, how did you guys as a group level up so quickly?
You know, it was just playing all the time. We were really serious. We had tournaments. We played a lot. We were always watching videos. And, like, you know, when someone sees a new combo or whatever, or a new link or something. I remember the first time we ever saw Dudley go, like, you know, overhead roundhouse into super. And I was like, that doesn't connect. You know, there's no way.
Right.
You know?
How could that connect?
And just watching Japanese videos, seeing videos, and incorporating that into our gameplay.
So at the time, Gamers Vision was already putting out ranking battles?
No, it wasn't Gamers Vision. It was Game Newton
Game
at the
Newton.
time. Yeah, old school matches like Match versus KO, and I remember when I think it was like the first Evolution. There was like a 5v5 or something like that. USA versus Japan. I remember one of the memorable things was like Nuki parrying Alex Valla's Fireball and supering through it, the EX Fireball. And Gio was like on that team and blah, blah, blah. Well, anyways, they gave the winners or the competitors of that the first Shirubi video.
Wow.
It was a tape. And I still have it actually too.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Gio gave it to me. I still have it. You know, but yeah, and that had like you know, the whole tournament footage of stuff we had never ever seen before.
Wow.
You know, Kara Demon, just like tons of stuff.
So this was kind of like a gold mine.
It was literally like I never even knew this video existed until I went over to Gio's house one day and he's like, "Hey, check this out!" And he literally like pulled it from his closet.
Wait, the Japanese gave it just to Gio?
No, they gave it, I think, to all the competitors in that USA versus Japan thing. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So he lent that to me. And then yeah, that blew my mind. You know, I'd never seen that stuff.
That's crazy.
I know, dude. And then other epic things happened, like the first Cooperation Cup. That was insane. That like taught me so much stuff. You know,
over the
Cooperation Cup 1, where Tokido Urian beats KO Yoon for the final match of their team. Yeah, that was like a huge thing.
So you guys would like study these videos together?
No, I don't know what the other people were doing, but I was watching those videos like every day, just like nonstop. You know, picking up everything all the characters do, and then I would bring it. I would try to do that stuff in my gameplay, and then other people would be like, "Oh, you could do that," and it just spread. It spread like a virus. You know?
Wow.
So
the Japanese kind of like gave Gio and the rest of the team like this little like book of knowledge basically,
right.
And you guys took that you studied it. I'm sure the other guys on the team studied it too.
Yeah, I'm sure they did too. I know like everybody watched the Cooperation Cup 1 videos too. You know, I mean it was like mind blowing, you know?
So everybody was seeing brand new stuff for the first time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then you guys would all like take that and use it and then talk about it afterwards?
Right, for sure. You know, we'd be playing and something would happen, something weird, and they're like, "You could do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know, didn't you see this and this and this?" And we just passed that knowledge back and forth.
Wow.
You know?
So you guys were changing the game in a way that it hadn't been here before because only Japan was at that level.
Right. I mean, everything comes from Japan pretty much. Today. Even today, whenever you have a community, a big community, like Japan has a unique community. No other place in the world plays Third Strike like Japan.
Right.
And when you have all these people working with all their, like, because they're really serious. Like, I don't know if you know about the Japanese culture, but like anything from like, you know, yo-yos to Third Strike to pachinko, they're 100% for it, you know? And when you have a community like that where everybody's 100% for it, new stuff gets found out all the time and just the level builds and builds and builds so fast. And I guess you can compare that to this community and family where we had like a smaller community but still dedicated and still really trying our best.
Because you guys were playing like every day.
Every day, nonstop.
And this was before anybody had responsibilities.
Right. Or,
jobs.
You know, we were just like, you know, we were like just
college.
Out of high school right into like college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this was like, well, I mean, you know, most people have that, you know, they graduate high school, they go into college, but the first couple years of college are basically like just messing around.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So you guys were taking that time where other people were out, you know, in doing college things, but you guys were like basically leveling up American Third Strike.
Right. I mean, that was our thing to do. You know, everybody has their thing that they like to do, and that was us.
Wow.
You know? So it was awesome. Yeah, good times. That was the most Third Strike ever that I've played in my life. Just from get there like at 12 or 2 p.m. and play till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. every day.
So that is why, I mean, you could say that somebody who's, new to the game, maybe been playing for like a year or two. Maybe they're really good. Like, let's say somebody like Vinny. Vinny is a player from Simi Valley who's, young, who's what, like 17?
Yeah, he's 16, 17. Yeah.
He's been playing for a year or two. He's really good.
Right.
Nobody would disagree and say that he was not good.
Right.
But, he hasn't had the level of experience, the sheer number of hours in the game that, you have.
Exactly.
So would you say that somebody in that situation can never beat somebody who has more experience in the long run?
No, I don't think Third Strike that is really that kind of game, like where you can be the best. That's why I don't think there's like an undisputed best Third Strike player in Japan,
even in Japan,
or in the US or anything like that. Especially not in Japan. Because, you go over there and you see, over here we think of, Nuki as a god, unbeatable to the USA players.
Right.
Over in Japan, he'll go up against someone's, second character Urien and lose. There's not, these huge streaks all the time. Because Third Strike's just not that kind of game where you can dominate every single game every single time.
Right.
So, comparing it to Vinny, Vinny, I think, is, really great for how long he's been playing.
Yeah.
But once you get introduced into that community, you just level up so much faster compared to if you're just playing by yourself.
So it's more about
console.
the community that you...
Yeah, the community produces
the players that you're playing.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I see.
That's why Japan has so many good players, because their community is the best.
Even though there's players that have come along that haven't been playing as long, they can still level up.
Right, you get a new player. There was, I think in one of the recent KSK ranking battles, there's Guest 1. I've never even heard of this Yun, and he was great, I was whoa, where'd this guy come from? It's cool. It's cool, because you can really do that. And that's why, I think we're at the level we're at now in SoCal, or in the U.S., because we've taken so much from the Japanese community. They're like our foundation.
Yeah, definitely. Passing down this secret knowledge.
For sure. Every time I go, I see something new, and I bring it back, and I try to
Right,
show
we were
people.
talking about that just the other day, about how Third Strike is one of those games where you can see something new. You've been playing for 9 years, and you still see something new every now and then.
Right.
And that's, what we're like. That's what I love about Third Strike.
Yeah, me too. It's I really think sometimes, I sit down and I think I was did the Japanese game makers intend for all this stuff?
Yeah, I think about that some.
There's no way they could have done that.
No.
It's just I don't know, they just made something so great that was so fluid and could just get better and better.
Yeah,
and better.
It was just flexible enough, yet still had certain rules.
I was did they intend for Chun-Li to be this good?
Right.
And how did they know she could have 2 Kara throws or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that too. Is Urien...
Do they mean for the unblockables?
Yeah.
And why does it work so well to
I know,
gameplay?
It works so well.
Perfectly.
It was there. It was put there on purpose. But then you think, how could they think of this?
How could they know that? They couldn't find out everything in the game testing.
Right,
Right.
yeah. We've been playing, you've been playing for 9 years. You still see new stuff. Where you're wait a minute, why does that work? Because she was crouching, not crouching.
Right, we were just talking about that with the Urien thing or whatever, yeah.
So, what would you say has helped you to, aside from studying videos, what has gotten you to the level that you're at now?
When I go in and play casuals, I don't win every game. It's impossible. I'll lose plenty of times too, against good players. But I think that I'm probably one of the top players, if not the top player in the US, because I play well in tournaments. That's really, I think experience will take you so far in Third Strike, to make you a competent and good player. But what separates those players from the top players is tournament experience, I remember, I think when I went to the first Evolution, they didn't even have Third Strike there, but I knew that there was going to be Third Strike competition. It was held at UCLA, and Mo Preem was there. And I remember when I first played Mo Preem, he was, there was this huge, aura around him.
Mo Preem was also
Mo, this guy just came back from Japan. He's gonna be godlike. And I remember I was so nervous just playing him in a casual game.
Of course.
My hands were couldn't even feel my hands. You know? And then I had no tournament experience or anything.
Okay, this was when you...
Yeah, it was to the point where I hit the button, I couldn't even feel the button because my hand was so numb and shaky. But now when I play in a tournament, unless it's SBO or a big Japanese tournament, I don't really get nervous anymore.
Right, because it's just okay, I've been in this situation
and
so many times.
And it's taking out the nerves, taking out the physical aspect from Third Strike, and just playing your best, how you always play in casual. But taking your best casual play and moving it into tournament play, that's what starts making the top players, I'd say.
So do you have a mindset or a strategy that you go into each tournament with?
You know what? Thinking through the years, I've had a lot of different mindsets. Uh-huh. The first was just be calm, play your game, blah, blah, blah. Play the player, because you know what he's going to do or whatever. Because once you play like Vic so many times, you know what they're...
You know how the match is going to go.
Right, now my mindset is more like, you just play the character. This is Chun-Li. This is what she's capable of. This is Yun. This is what you're capable of. Mm-hmm. Play that way. Understand how the match works and capitalize on it.
Right, because that can be a much better mindset than, let's say, just, okay, well, I'm playing Vic, and I know that, Dudley can only do this, Yun can only do this, this is how the match is going to go, because then what happens is you can play somebody new in a tournament that you've never even heard of before,
right,
and you can't use that same strategy.
Right, they'll do let's say Vic never does short corkscrew blow, even though he has that option, and then this new player comes and does short corkscrew blow, and you get hit by it. And then you're going to be like, well, Vic doesn't do that. Why did,
Right.
You can't really go into that mindset. You need to be aware of what every character can do, what everything's possible of. And that should be your foundation in tournament play, I'd say.
So when you're playing, somebody new that you never played in a tournament, I mean, what is the first thing that you do when the round starts?
It depends against the character,
Okay, like let's say Chun.
Usually Chun, okay, I know at the first start of the round, nobody has super, so she can't super me, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll probably start off with just like a palm strike, just something where it's like a safe move. Palm strike at the start of the round is a safe move for the most part, right?
Right.
Because if she sticks out a standing fierce, it'll trade or whatever. Or I'll just start charging meter and see how she reacts. I kind of want the opponent to fill me in on how they play before I'm going to start attacking them and trying to get damage on them.
So you're trying to play safely at the beginning and, let's say, put out things that they can react to?
Right. I want to give them, the idea, this is how I'm going to play safe or I'm going to play defensive or something like that. How are you going to react to that? And once they react a certain way, then I'm like, oh, this is the way they're thinking, And that shapes how I play against their character, I always have the Chun mindset in mind, how far moves hit, what has priority, what moves will beat mine, and such. Mm-hmm. And then the way the character, the person plays will start shaping how I react to their character.
So would you say that you start off and you run away and you build meter, you're like just building meter. Mm-hmm. If she starts chasing after you, and she's dashing in, standing fierce.
Right.
And, you block or maybe you trade, then what happens?
Well, if I start getting hit a lot, then I'm like, okay, this guy is obviously familiar with how Chun-Li works against Yun, because he's able to hit me. It's not easy just to hit someone,
Especially Yun.
Right, especially Yun, because I'm so fast, I'm moving all around, and I know you want to hit me because you want to stop me from getting an agent, but are you able to hit me? Mm-hmm. And if you are able to hit me, then that tells me you're a competent player. Then I need to start changing my game so that you can't hit me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, so you got hit a couple times. He's a competent player. Mm-hmm. Now you have, half a meter. Mm-hmm. And that is just about enough to jump in, hit a combo, and then almost have Grenade Gen.
Almost
is that
have
right?
Grenade Gen, right.
At what point do you decide, okay, now's the time to go get him?
It really, honestly, I can't answer that because it's not the same for every person you play, know? Some people have great defense, some people have great offense.
So what do you do against somebody who has great defense?
Great defense, you have to exploit the Grenade Gen. There's no way, no matter how great your defense is, that you're not going to eventually take damage from Grenade Gen. Because that's what Grenade Gen really is. It's free damage,
Right. I've heard you say before that one of the Japanese players told you, I forget who, but if Yun gets 3 Grenade Gens in a round, he wins.
Yeah, that's it. Mester told me that a long time ago. He says that's your number one goal, to get 3 Grenade Gens per round. And if you get 3 Grenade Gens per round, no matter who you're against, no matter what character you're against, you're going to win.
Right.
Okay, and that's pretty much...
basically guaranteed.
Right, exactly, And the more Grenade Gens, the better. If you only get 1 Grenade Gen per round and you barely lose, and you're like, oh, I was so close to winning, I should have won. Can't really say that because you didn't go for the main thing. You didn't capitalize on Yun's strength, which is Ganejin.
Right.
You know?
So, I'm sure you've seen lots of Yun players. I mean, I did, especially going over to Chicago, where they look for the perfect opportunity to activate.
Yeah, and that was one of the biggest things I had to work on, you know? I always wanted, if not to activate off a jab short strong that hits, jab short strong Ganejin and do a combo, I would at least have to activate off like a move, like a blocked low forward or a blocked standing forward. I never wanted to activate Ganejin far away from the character. Right,
because then they can throw something out, you can get hit, maybe supered.
Right, and then I lose my whole Ganejin, and then I was like, oh no, my Ganejin's lost. I didn't get any damage, That was the main thing that I needed to fix with my Yun a few years ago. Because when I was in Japan, me and Kokujin and some other Japanese players sat through the whole night just studying my matches that they had recorded and stuff like that, telling me what I need to work on, what I did wrong here, why didn't you do this, and such and such.
Wow.
And they said the main thing I need to work on is my Yun's a little slow sometimes, and that I don't activate Ganejin from far away. They said what you're doing is every time you get Ganejin, you want to activate close or off of a move, and they said that's bad.
Because Yun doesn't need to
He doesn't need to. You can activate Ganejin anywhere, and if you're a good Yun, you should be able to get damage off of it.
Right.
Because Ganejin is free damage from anywhere.
Even from full screen.
From full screen.
So how do you get in from full screen?
It really depends against the character. The hardest character I'd say to get in against is Chun Li. Right. Because even her normal moves, if they do them right and they're competent, can give your Ganejin a problem. Especially her low jab and back fierce. So really, it's like Yun Chun-Li is one of my favorite matches, but it's also one of the hardest matches because they're both two very great characters. So first of all, you can't activate Ganejin mid-screen against Chun safely if she has meter because she can super you if she's competent. Okay, whenever you activate Ganejin and Chun has meter, she can super you. But from the full screen, she can't super you. But getting in from the full screen is the hard part. And what you really need to do is you have to decide whether you're going to try to move in from the air, from the ground, or do a dash punch from far away to get in. And then you just got to work with what the opponent is expecting and what they're not expecting and so forth.
So which of those options is the safest?
I personally like coming in from the air and doing a dive kick right outside of her standing fierce range. I think that's the safest for me, because what can she do? She can't standing fierce you because it's outside of her range. Right. And now you've already closed the gap. And now you're not full screen away. You've closed that gap by half the screen already. And then from that position, you can mix up your dive kicks again, want to tick throw into command grab, want to tick into like short forward fierce, and go from there.
So at what point after you've activated do you decide to keep trying to get damage and juggle them, or to go for the command grab?
Well, ideally, you would have gained knowledge from how the person reacted to your Ganejin before. Some Chun-Lis want to block all day and just mash low jab to get out of Ganejin, and that's great. Other Chun-Lis want to block and then look for like a throw to get out, because her throw will beat your throw a lot of times. And some Chun-Lis don't care. They just want to back fierce and just hit and hit and hit because her priority is so good and they think that they can get away from that. So you learn, and then you try to exploit Chun's weaknesses, like she's a fat character, so you can combo things easier against her that you couldn't, like universal overhead and Ganejin, command grab her from farther away than other characters. Right. And just kind of utilize that.
So when you're in Ganejin, how many Ganejins how are you testing them? How do you test what they're reacting to?
Okay, well let's just say I activate Ganejin full screen away. We'll start off with that. Okay. Chun-Li has full meter. Let's just say she always has full meter because that's when she's like really dangerous. Okay. I super jump at her and see what she does. Is she walking? Because if she walks, she has to stand up. And then that puts her at risk for maybe like a quick dive kick into a low, short, forward fierce. Okay. If she's just going to block, then I know that maybe I could dive kick her from the tip of her body into low, short, forward fierce. Okay. And if she still wants to block again, I could dive kick but whiff it in front of her into a command grab or low, short, forward fierce.
So the key is to keep on mixing up your game.
Right. You can't just say, you know what? Every time I jump, I'm going to dive kick Chun-Li in the same spot. Because dive kicks, first of all, aren't that safe against Chun-Li if they get parried.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, you're just asking for her to punish it with something.
Right.
Right. So you always got to mix it up. You got to mix up the timing. You got to mix up how you come at her. Sometimes you just got to do something randomly to just throw their game off too, you know?
So if you're playing like a 2 out of 3 set in a tournament, I mean, how many times are you activating before you know exactly how they're going to react? I mean, how many Ganejin tries does it take to know how they're going to react for the rest of the match?
That's kind of hard to say, because if the player's really good, usually they'll adapt. You know, they'll adapt to your game, and that's where the high level really comes into. Them adapting to you, and then you adapting to their adaptation.
Okay, so you're in Ganejin and you do something, they react one way. The next time, do you think that they're looking for you to come at them the same way? Do they know that you're going to mix it up?
Right. Obviously, in the player's mind, let's say they get hit with a dive kick into low short forward fierce. Okay, let's just say a standard dive kick in Ganejin hits them, low short forward fierce hits. Obviously, they've put something in their mind that says, okay, he hit me with that. I don't want to get hit with that again. So they're going to compensate. They're going to adapt to that. So next time, if you do dive kick, low short forward fierce, and they parry the dive kick, you know they're looking for that. So now it's time to change.
So then you would attack from the ground?
Right. Or you could do a dive kick out and not hit them, whiff them, and they try to parry, but because it whiffed, they don't parry. Now they're standing up, and then you can go low short forward fierce. Right? And, I mean, really great like sometimes when I play Nuki in Japan, it's like, gosh, he knows every single thing I want to do. It's like
So what do you do when you know that they know?
It's like, not only does he know everything I want to do, but every move that he does hits me. And that's really frustrating. That's really scary. When every single thing they do hits, and every single thing you do doesn't hit.
Right.
So that just tells you that you're being too predictable. You're not utilizing all of your options. And also you're just not playing the right game. You've let them get into your mind, and they know exactly what type of game you're playing.
So how do you get out of that box?
That's the hard thing. Okay, but
especially in a 2 out of 3.
Especially, yeah. Like, I mean, it's really frustrating when someone beats you like 2 games in a row or something and sends you to losers, or if it's like grand finals and they beat you 2 games in a row. That's like really heartbreaking.
Right.
It's like everything I'm trying, I'm using all of my mind's power, and it's not working. It's like I've hit the wall. What do I do? And I mean, you're not going to win every tournament. You're going to lose some, But what's going to really help you is if you go back and look at your match later on, and you're like, why did I get hit with that? Why did this happen to me? Why didn't I do this? A lot of times, like, I had a streak where I was losing to Amir for a long time, And when I would play Amir, it was like, I don't understand. He's the only person that can hit me. He's the only person that can stop my Ganejin. Nobody else can. Why him? And when I'd go back later and watch my match, I was like, why did I do that? I should have done this. Why didn't I do this? And then I compare my match, my Amir versus Pyrolee versus Nito versus Nuki. I would compare my matches to the Japanese matches. And when I'd see similar situations, I'd always record what would they do in the situation, and then incorporate that into my gameplay.
So you would, like, let's say, open up YouTube and then look for the exact same match, not just any Yuri and Chun, but
the top level Yuri.
Yeah,
and
Chun. Let's say like the Yun that you were to model yourself after, and
Right, exactly. I'd be like, okay, I get stuck in the corner. It's like I can't get out. What does Nito do? And then I watch Nito. He's like, oh, he does that. Or he's not scared in the situation where I'm scared. And then I understand why, So then after you studied the videos, for a while, then you play Amir again, like next week, next tournament, whatever. Right. What do? You incorporate your changes, and then how does he react to the changes that you've made in your game? Well, it's kind of funny. Like, sometimes I'll see, like, the top Yuns do stuff, and it's like, when I still go to play, I don't do it. That's like the mental block. That's the mental aspect that you got to overcome.
Because you still have your habits.
Right. It's like, oh, no, I like doing this. I don't want to do that. And that just means you aren't like I said before, you aren't using all of Yun's potential. You've got into a groove and you don't want to get out of it, and that's sometimes a hard habit to break.
Right.
Right. But
because you might have been playing that way for years.
For years, yeah. And you're like, no one has ever stopped that before. I must be doing something wrong because they're stopping it.
Right.
And it's just like you have a mental block. And you can't say like, oh, I can't beat this person. You just got to keep working at it.
You got to believe that you can.
You got to
beat them.
believe, really.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. Like, I lost to Amir. I think it was like the last Evolution West. And then and he beat me really bad. Yeah, last year he beat me really good. And I ran through everybody else in the tournament easily. Only Amir would stop me. But then when I came back from Japan. And I had just played like Nuki and MOV and all the top chuns nonstop, and I was like, oh, I understand. When I came back and played Amir, I beat him I beat him like 2 tournaments in a row, and he was still hard, but I understood now.
So how did you take? I mean, how were you able to learn so fast in Japan the match that you'd struggled with over here?
Well, I got to kind of blame that on Amir because he never plays me in casual. He always wants to hold the tricks for tournaments play. Yeah, I know. I don't like that either.
I didn't know that
I want everything to be out in the open.
Right. Yeah, because if we can...
We can learn from
each other.
But Amir's not like that. He wants to win the tournament, And actually, it was kind of mean. I mean, I was like, Amir, play me. Just play me casuals.
Right.
Like 10 games in a row, or 5 games in a row. And he's like, okay, fine. I'll do it. And we played 5 games in a row, and I beat him every single game. And he threw it to me. I know he did.
Why would
just because he didn't
you?
want me to learn all the tricks?
My God.
And in his mind, he's like, what? If I play this guy 5 games in a row, I'll learn from him because I know he's going to play me as hard as possible. And and then I played him in a later tournament and I lost again.
Oh my God! So Amir managed to bait you outside of the tournament.
And I was all for it because I want to learn.
Right.
And he's like, I'll just let him win.
Wow.
But it came
Amir,
back. It came back. Guy. It came back to haunt him because when I came back from Japan and I had powered up.
This was before Japan.
Yeah, this was before Japan. But when I came back from Japan and I powered up my Yun, then he saw some stuff that he never saw before, and it got him. And then he hasn't played since. So
right, because he moved away.
Right. So
I mean, when you were in Japan, were you asking for help?
Oh yeah, and they were totally for it. One time we went to the arcade and we had our own private cabinet, and it was just me versus Nuki with Issei and Yakun tutoring me, sitting right next to me, tutoring me, like giving me advice while I was playing. And we played all night like that.
They speak English.
Yeah, Issei speaks really good English.
Oh, because Issei was over here.
Right, and Yakun would be like... And then sometimes they'd have discussions like what happened, and stuff like that.
Wow.
Right,
so you got basically an all-night one-on-one tutorial. Yun versus
Chun, yeah.
Took it back to Amir and said...
it was great, yeah. And and I was going toe-to-toe with Nuki. It definitely wasn't like I was a pushover or anything like that. It was really great, hard matches. Matches, the best matches in my mind are the ones you learn from, even if you lose,
Right.
If you just win and it's easy, it's like, what's the point?
So, how do you separate playing when you're actually, in it with, the learning? How do you do both at the same time?
Because you always play your hardest, and then when you get hit with something, you're like, damn, I shouldn't have got hit with that, and then you put that note in your mind. That's what I really think Third Strike is. It's just tons of different notes in your minds over the years of playing.
Character-specific situations.
Right. Chun Li goes low short, and you're close to her. You got to watch out for car grab. You got to watch out for back fierce. You got to watch out for low forward.
Right.
You got to watch out
an
for
index.
Another low short car grab. It's just a huge database of notes that you've built up over the years.
So
and I think it's the ability to draw that database and recall a note
at any time.
At any time that is going to make you a better player.
I've heard, Vic's told me before that he keeps a journal of all, basically, his Dudley knowledge. Like an encyclopedia of Dudley by Vic. Do you have anything like that?
I don't have anything like that because I've never been a real... I've never been a person where, even in school, I'll take notes and go back to it later on to review it. I've never been that type of person.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm the type of person where, once I've maybe written down something or experienced something, it just stays in my mind forever. You know, and I can just recall that at a whim's notice. But a lot of people aren't like that. And a lot of players in Japan, it's kind of funny. Like the second year I went over there, I met some random Yun player who was good. And he had on his phone an entire list of like the distances per pixel.
Wow.
Of like Yun and Ganajin when he could do universal overhead. And you know, like against Urien, if he's crouching and Yun does universal overhead into low, short, forward, fierce, it won't combo all the time.
Right.
Only from the very tip. Where against like Chun Li, it's much easier to do. He had all that knowledge for every character on his phone.
So how would he judge the distance? I mean, what would he say? Would he say like
he would be like against Urien, if you're in Ganajin, right up close to him, if you do like 3 shorts, then you can do universal overhead. Where against like Ken, if you do 2 shorts and then walk back a step, then you could do universal overhead.
And he
obviously,
had all this
I don't think I'm giving this information correctly,
right.
but that's what he had on his phone for every character, with like 3 different setups to get in the proper position to do universal overhead.
So just in case he couldn't remember, he could just...
Yeah, he could check it out. And then he sent it to me, like, online. Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately, it was all in Japanese, so I couldn't really...
Right.
Yeah, but that's what they're willing to do in Japan. Many players are willing to do that.
That's what we need.
Exactly.
We need some kind of, like, open source Wikipedia-style Third Strike database where every single situation of every single character ever is in there.
And I mean, it's kind of cool. We kind of have that, though. You know, you go on Shoryuken, you go on the forums into the Third Strike section, and they have, a category for every character.
Right.
And sometimes, I don't know everything. Just the other day, I posted in the Akuma thread, and I was like, how do you hit medium... Okay, how do you do medium hurricane kick against Dudley into medium uppercut? Because, I mean, I can hit that against, like, Ken, all the Shotos, Yun Yang, easily. But I saw it in a video and against Dudley. I saw it combo, and I couldn't get it ever. I was like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? So I posted in there, and then Farai, who is an Akuma player, he responded, and he's like, no, it's a certain timing. You got to do that, And, I mean, to a degree we have that. The Japanese just take it farther.
Right.
Where they're very detailed, and they never do the things where I'm going to hide tricks, for tournament play.
Right, because hiding tricks is just bad for everybody.
No, they want to take Third Strike to the highest level, bring it to that level, and then see who's the best player. That's what they want to do.
So, do you think Third Strike is at that level now?
In the U.S.
No,
or in
no,
Japan?
in Japan.
Yeah, for sure. They always have the top level, but I mean, like we said earlier,
can they take it further?
Yeah, for sure.
How can you tell that Third Strike is not at its Japanese limit?
Because there's still things that we haven't seen yet.
So do you think eventually, if the Japanese were to play for another 10 years, I mean, would every game consist of like 100 red parries because you would just be able to react and know everything was coming every single time?
Honestly, sometimes I think so, because like looking back a few years going to Japan against my Yun, jab short strong shoulder gets red parried every time. Then a few years later, jab short strong, the strong gets red parried, And then I'd go over there like, a couple years ago, and jab short strong gets red parried, but once I stop doing the strong, then jab short gets red parried. The short starts getting red parried, And I'm like, what? Really?
Wow.
And in America, we're still on like the red parrying.
Yeah, we're still trying to red parry just...
The shoulder, you know? Yeah, I know.
Right.
So at the most, the strong starts getting red parried. But that's what I'm saying, like, every time I go over
evolution.
There, you'll see, it's evolving still and still. So not at the same degree as it was a few years ago. It's like when I first went, compared to the second year, was a huge evolution. Then the next year, the evolution was so much. And the final year, it's less and less and less. But it's still progressing,
Because you still have, like, the limits of the human brain.
Right. And I mean, yeah, to a degree, we've pretty much found out, like, 98% of what's in Third Strike, or 99%. But there's still that 1% that hasn't been completed.
That might never come out.
And I mean, then you get Kuroda playing Akuma now. And some of the combos he's done I've never seen before,
Really?
So, I mean, I'd say probably with Yun, Chun, and Ken, Those 3 characters have been exhausted because they're the most played characters.
Oh, right.
Right.
Of course. But
But
there
then-
could still be some goofy...
Right,
some
you
goofy
get
stuff out
Oro
there.
and Necro doing craziness, and there's still new combo videos coming out all the time too, so.
Right. So do you see a real benefit to playing other characters besides Yun?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially like, I'm gonna list like all the characters I think I can play pretty well. Okay, Yun is my best. Then probably Chun-Li, Akuma, Urien, Ken. What else do I play?
Ryu every now and then?
Ryu, and then maybe Yang too. And that was my goal. Whenever I've encountered a character that gives me issues, I want to learn that character to help my Yun game.
So how long do you play, let's say Chun, when Chun is giving you trouble?
Well, dude, honestly, I think Chun-Li's probably my second best character now. I think my Chun-Li's like pretty decent.
So you just kind of keep playing when you get bored, or when we've been playing for, let's say, like 4 hours, okay, it's time to switch to Chun.
Yeah, a lot of times I use my secondary characters now as warm-ups just to get me warmed up to the game. Then I'll play Yun afterwards. And I do that because, I don't just play Chun-Li for fun. I play her to master her. I want to master Chun-Li. I want to take it.
To level up your Yun game.
Exactly, just to help my Yun game. But I don't want to just play her to be like, low, short, back fierce. I need to learn the distance on that or something.
Right.
I want to play her to make her very strong so I understand other Chun-Li players, how they think.
Right.
How, when they're at a certain distance, what are they thinking, Because if I'm a master Chun-Li player and I'm very good against playing Yun, that's only going to help my Yun game. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
So what do you say to players who, let's say, they want to be masters of, let's say, like 2 characters. Not like you want to be master of Chun so that it helps up your Yun game.
They
but they just kind of, they want to play like a bunch of characters and be good at all of them.
Well, I don't really agree with that. I guess it's like different being a USA tournament player and a Japanese tournament player. Because in the USA, you're allowed to switch characters.
Right.
And a lot of people say that's fine. If someone picks Chun-Li, I'm going to counter them with Yun. Or if someone picks Ken, I'm going to counter them with Chun-Li.
Because the tournament in America is more about the player than it is about the match between the characters.
Exactly. They'd rather, rather than level up their character who has a problem with another character, they'd rather, I guess, go the easier way and pick a better character against that.
A counter character so that they
exactly.
can have a leg up.
But in Japan, you can't do that. You can't really switch characters in tournaments.
So you have to be a master of your character.
Exactly. And I think the best way let's say when I was playing Yun, I took my Yun to the highest level I could. Then I ran into Chun-Li's, and that was hard for me. And I couldn't get around it because I was like, I don't understand Chun-Li. I don't understand why she can do this or why it's safe when she does this, I don't understand the max distance of her car throw. I just don't understand that, So I started playing Chun-Li, and I remember
how long ago was that?
I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't really remember. And when I first started playing Chun-Li, I was really bad, And everybody's like, Chun-Li's so easy, Chun-Li's so easy. And I was like, this character doesn't make any sense to me at all,
it doesn't.
And now I'm like, wow, Chun-Li's an awesome character, And I've just used all that Chun-Li notes that I've made and then thrown it into my Yun.
And how have you... how long did it take to become really good with Chun?
I don't keep track of that. I just play her all the time. I play her every day. I play all my secondary characters every day.
Oh, wow.
Because, I'm just playing for so many hours,
Right.
You get a little tired of playing Yun all the time.
Yeah.
So why not play Chun-Li? Why not learn something, Or maybe if I want to... And then it gets into the whole thing where it's like, now that I'm working on my Chun, I got to work on her bad matchups,
Right.
I got to work on like the thing I want to work on the most right now with my Chun-Li is my Ken game because Ken gives my Chun-Li a really hard time. So if someone's playing Ken, a lot of times I'll play Chun-Li
because you're trying to get her to the level.
Right? Yeah. And then and then it helps me because even though I'm not playing Chun against Yun, I'm still learning what is Chun-Li afraid of, And even though it's Chun-Li versus Ken, I can still incorporate the range and the distance of her versus Ken into my Yun game, Even though it's not Yun versus Chun, it still helps me understand what Chun-Li is afraid of.
But you would never, ever consider switching from Chun to Yun?
No, not in a tournament. I've never done that. Unless it's like, yeah, like from the very beginning. This has always been my mentality. When I start a tournament, even in the USA, I play the character all the way through. Right. If I'm going to play Chun Li, and I played Chun Li in a couple tournaments, I think. And I did good. I got like second and third in the tournaments. I play her all the way. I just said this tournament I'm willing to lose just to make my Chun Li's tournament game stronger. Because Chun Li in casual isn't always the same as in tournament too. Just like how Yun isn't. You want to bring your best casual play into tournament mode. But a lot of times when you're in a tournament, other players, they play much more defensively. They're scared to take risks. Right. And you need to have your Chun-Li capitalize on that. Capitalize on them playing safer so as to not do something dumb, get pieced out. Right, because if someone's just going to block all day, it's much harder to hit a low forward, but it's much easier to Kara grab them. And you learn from that, and you build on that. You use that. So what would you say is Yun's hardest match? Is it Chun? Chun-Li or Makoto, I'd say, is the hardest match. A lot of people say Ken is very difficult too, and I agree, but I've played that match so much, I feel pretty comfortable against it. Would you say that Ken isn't as good of a matchup for Yun because he doesn't have any of the damaging combos that Makoto and Chun have? Honestly, I'd say that Chun-Li, Ken, and Makoto are all difficult matches for Yun, but it also depends on the player. Like, if you look at, like, Nito, he's like the top Yun player versus Chun-Li. He feels very comfortable in that match, and he feels he can win against any Chun-Li. If you talk to Issei about Chun-Li, he says he doesn't like to fight her at all. He just doesn't like that. I'm kind of the same way, too. I don't like to fight Chun-Li, whereas I like to fight Ken better. Right. And I don't like to fight Makoto, where some Yuns do. So that's I think, a personal preference. And that's kind of one of the bad things, though. I'm really trying to work on my Makoto game, too, because, like, Kenai beats me a lot. Right. Whereas against some people, they feel confident against Makoto. Right. And if you have a fear against a certain character, a lot of times that's going to make you lose. Because you're like, I'm so scared, I don't want to do this. How do you get out of that? You just got to keep playing, really understand the matchup, understand everything Makoto has. And see, I was actually thinking about the other day about learning Makoto because I don't know how to play her at all. I don't know. I've played her a couple times, and I just don't like the fact that I have to dash and dash. That's a lot of work. Right. Every other character you can walk around at least, but Makoto you can't at all. She has like the slowest walk in the game. And that takes a different mindset. And actually it's funny because like Kenai, he starts playing Yun now, and he's like, I don't understand this character at all. This is like, what? You know, he wants to do like random dash punches because he's like in the Makoto mindset where it's totally different. So, and if you look at like Boss from Japan is a great player, and every character that I've played against that guy is all top tier. I think he could play any one of his characters and win a tournament. Wow. Seriously, in Japan. And I mean, just look at it. He's been doing that for like years now. Started off with Yang. That was his character for years. Won many tournaments. Then he went to Ken for a while. Won tournaments. He can play Makoto now. Yun for years or a year was like his best character. So would you say that once you're on the level where you're consistently winning tournaments, that gives you the right to switch characters, but not before? Once you've mastered the character where you can win tournaments, I'd say you can go on and master another character to win tournaments again. Until you've won tournaments, you're just cheating yourself by trying to like be a master of all these different characters. I'd say so, yeah. I'd say that's the thing. When you can start winning tournaments with your character, that tells you that you've brought it to a level that's the top, at least in your area. Yeah, and that's all we can hope for. Because, I mean, I can't go to Japan and play my Urien and do as good as with my Yun. There's no way. What about things like GGPO and playing online? Honestly, I'm not a console player. When I play console Third Strike, it feels like a different game to me a lot of times. Right. Well, you could say, playing with the emulator, it's exactly the same. Right, but then there's lag issues. It's not lag with the joystick. Right, it's not going to be 100%. And that's always the type of player I want to be. I want to be an 100% arcade player because SBO is 100% arcade. And SBO is all that matters. SBO is all that matters for me. Because Evo... Yeah, I'm not even going to go to Evo this year. Yeah. Evo's such a good time. Yeah, I mean, it's fun and everything, but, like, I'm already going to spend so much money in Japan, and, It's just not.
What about money matches over there at Evo?
I'm not really interested in that stuff. Japan has always been the number one thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Always, even over USA stuff, And a lot of players don't feel like that, but I do.
Right, because other players will say, well, they're over there, we over here, we play for money.
Right, but my thing is always to be the best. Like, I always, I probably will never be the best, if there even is a best Third Strike player, but I want to take my Yun to be the best that I can be,
Right.
and that goal of mine lies in Japan.
Right, because it ain't here.
It's not here. Right.
Which is unfortunate because we're so spread out.
Right,
the game is old.
You can't really blame the USA. Third Strike, when it first started, was not a very popular game for years. It wasn't even at the first couple evolutions or whatever. But in Japan, since it came out, it's been a staple. It's been a hugely popular game.
Wow.
So you can't really blame us, And then, in SoCal, what do we have? One arcade, Family Fun.
We have Family, we have AI, we
AI.
have Shogo's Arcade opening up, which is in Simi.
Right, but
They're all far.
they're all far.
Far
You
away,
can't just
far
say,
away.
you know what, today I'm going to go to Shogo's Arcade,
Right.
or today I'm going to
Yeah.
go to Family.
Yeah,
know?
you gotta plan it now. Gas
Or-
prices.
Right, you got to plan it, and then you can't be, you know what, I'm tired of Family. It's like 6:30. I'm going to go drive over to AI,
Right,
and play the
Let's see what's going
competition
on at
over
AI.
there.
Yeah,
no
no.
way, right? Or you can't be like, oh, I want to play Justin Wong. I want to play Ricky. Why don't we go check that out?
Right.
No. In Japan, if no one's at that arcade, you hop on a train for 15, 20 minutes and go to another arcade. Or another one. And there's
Right.
all great players there, all spread out,
So what would you say that a player in that's not living even in SoCal can do?
That's a good question, and I think to really up your game, okay, the main thing that you can do if you're just a player at home by yourself without competition is to master execution.
Right.
Execution problems should never have any say in the arcade.
Right.
Okay, because if you're not hitting your combos, it's because you don't know how to do them. You haven't mastered that yet, So really, at home on your Dreamcast, on your PlayStation, whatever you're playing on, you need to master your combos. Every hard combo, every rare, weird incident combo, you need to master that. Okay? And then when you go into the arcade, when you go on, I guess if you're playing online, that's when the mind games start to build. That's when the notes start to build up in your head.
The character-specific stuff.
Character-specific, player-specific, if you want to go with that. That's where your game will take off, because you need a community. You need to play against other players to really understand what's going on in the game.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a real feasible thing to do if you're just all alone by yourself. That's why some people say, they'll be like, oh, Justin Wong's not the best player. There's probably some guy in Ohio that's never played before who's just a genius, Impossible. That's what I'd say, impossible. You need to learn from the community.
Right. And if you don't have the community, then
It's
you
hard.
have to move.
So I guess in that I guess in that sense GGPO helps a lot because then you can at least for the most part play a decent game of Third Strike online.
Right.
And learn. Whereas if you don't have that, you're kind of, SOL.
So do you think that this year at EVO, even though you might not be there, do you think that there'll be some players that we haven't seen before that make it into top 16, top 32?
I can't really say. Last year there were upset. It was only one game or whatever.
Right.
That was
that doesn't even count.
right. That's what they say is it's one game in Japan, but then it's on console and.
Right.
I don't know. I guess if you're a console player, there's no excuse, but I'm an arcade player, so it is different for me,
Right.
And you can just tell you play Yun, you play Urian, there's timing's different, everything.
It's different.
I don't think
It's
anybody
different.
can argue that's not different.
No, when it first came out, there was some dispute. This
Right.
is different. That's different.
And especially me, I
think-
practice on a Dreamcast. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, it is different too. But yeah, I think Evolution's cool because when the community comes together, you get to play other people, with different styles and stuff like that. But in my mind, I've gone to Japan so many times. They're the best community. They're the best. You'll learn everything from them. I'm not going to see something groundbreaking in a USA community.
Right.
you know, and that's just the
it
fact.
just doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen, you know. It's like saying, you know, I'm an NBA player, but I'm going to go to like Yugoslavia and learn a whole new aspect about the game, you know.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, like that brings back memories. Did you ever see the movie The Mighty Ducks 2?
Yeah. Well, you know, I saw the first two. Yeah.
Right. How like they're like losing to like the Iceland team, and then they go play street puck. And they learn this whole other aspect.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, there's not really that in Third Strike.
In Third Strike in America.
Street puck time. No.
Yeah.
No. But anyways, yeah.
So playing other people, playing online, reading, watching videos, posting questions on and answers on SRK. I mean, is there anything else that players can do? Maybe like finding like another player, like a mentor or a player that's, you know, established, better than them. Do you think that helps other players that are trying to get better?
Yeah, you know, just as much as you can learn from any source, if it helps your game, utilize it, you know. Don't be like, oh, I saw this combo, but it's too hard, you know, or when am I ever going to use that, you know? because when the time comes where you needed to use it and you couldn't use it, then you're going to look back and say, why didn't I know that?
Right.
You know? So take everything in that you can learn, and just be the better player for it.
So where do you think that the Third Strike community can go from here? I mean, Street Fighter 4 is coming out.
Yeah.
Is this it for Third Strike?
You know, I'm a Third Strike player. I've never played any other Street Fighter. I don't think I'm even going to play Street Fighter 4.
Really?
Yeah, it's like that doesn't interest me, you know?
Wow.
'Cause I'm not like a gamer. I'm like a
You play
Third
Dota,
Strike player.
Diablo?
Oh, yeah, Diablo 1.
Diablo 1.
Right, I don't even play Diablo 2, you know.
Right.
I just started playing Diablo 1 the other day again,
Right.
you know, because like that's fun for me.
Yeah.
You know?
But you don't think of yourself as a gamer.
Yeah, no, I'm not like, oh, this is a new game, I got to try it out.
Right,
or anything.
yeah. No,
I
me
find
neither. It's
I find
like-
a game I like and I
and
play
that's it.
You know, oh, but there's this other game out here. Maybe I'll try it, but if I don't like it, then that's it.
Right.
You know, I'm not like I got to have every new game for PlayStation or the new consoles that come out or anything like that.
I mean, with Street Fighter 4, what if we all hate it when it comes out, and then 3 years later, after it comes out, then we're like, oh wait, like it turns out this is amazing, like Third Strike.
If it turns out to me, I'll play it. But I mean, like we've had games like that, like Capcom Fighting Jam,
Right, that
CBS2
thing goes-
when it came out.
yeah, that
I
thing
played
goes
one
so
game
well.
of each, and I was like, this game just doesn't feel right, and then
Right?
I
Yeah,
threw it
it
away. You know,
doesn't.
Marvel 2, I'm like, I don't even understand what's going on screen.
Yeah.
You know, but Third Strike, no joke, no lie, the first quarter I ever put into it, I was like, this is something I want to get great at.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's just how it was.
So, playing all these years in tournaments, I mean, who would you say was your hardest match?
Yeah, for sure, Amir. Amir is my hardest match, USA wise. With Ken I, probably next.
So what did you do?
yeah.
I mean, what have you done to level up your game against Ken I? Because, you know, with Amir, you went to Japan, you had that little private session, came
Yeah.
back and you beat Amir. But with Ken, how has that been different?
I put him on my team. I was
If you can't beat him,
join him. Exactly. That's why Amir was on my team too. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's my main thing, to get the best players or the hardest players, you know, in my mind, and have them on my team. You know, and I think that's why I've gone to Japan every year. I've always taken the hardest players and put them on my team for me. You know, and like, I mean, there's Yi, Vic, there's a ton of other great players out there. You know, there's you too and everything. But my thing has always been like, no matter what, I wanted to make the best team possible
Right.
to go to Japan, you know? And last year, it was supposed to be me, Justin, and Ricky, you know? But that fell through. So, you know, I mean, just, you know, stuff happened or whatever. But that's my goal, make the best team possible and go to Japan, because winning in Japan is more important to me in Third Strike than anything else.
Than anything here.
Anything here, anything else. You know? And I know, like, we've lost every year so far in Japan except for like the first 2 years.
Who
But
went the first 2 years?
the first year was me, Alex Vaya, and Pyrolee, and I think we got to the second round against Izu. And actually, I was very close to beating Izu. I was the closest player, not to brag, but I was the closest player in the entire tournament for the rest of SBO that got to beating Izu.
Wow.
You know, it was like down to last round, just a little bit of life, you know? And then the second year, that was the best year we did. That was the year we placed 5th. And it came down to me and Jay to make it on stage. Mayan versus his Makoto. And I won first round, lost second round, and was up by an enormous lead in third round.
Oh.
But he came back and beat me. And that was to get on stage, and that's the most heartbreaking loss.
Right.
You know? Then after that, it was me and Frank, and we lost to Izu and his teammate Tsuchi. And that was actually kind of cool, because even though we lost, KSK had a tournament that weekend where we had to play Issei and his teammate from SBO, rematch, and we won. Frank OCV them, and that was a huge win, you know?
Wow.
And every time I've gone to Japan, you know, even though these last few years we haven't done good in SBO, and I mean, it's hard. Every team in SBO is a champion team. They had to win a tournament just for a spot in SBO.
Right.
You know, and even though we lose to them, it's still we've lost to a great team. You know, we lost to a good team. But what you guys don't see is that there are other tournaments going on outside of SBO, and we've done good in a lot of them. We've placed the highest I've ever placed in one of those tournaments is 3rd. And I've got 3rd a few times, you know. Actually, it came down to me and Frank versus Nuki and KO in one tournament. And I beat Nuki, lost to KO, and then Frank lost to KO too. But it was really close, you know, and we could have gone, like, almost won a tournament there.
Wow.
You know, but you'll never see that because the videos were never released.
Right, because it's not SVO.
Right, not every tournament is recorded. So, I mean, I'm sure to a lot of players it looks like we go over there and get stomped on, but that's really not the truth, you know?
Right.
And even in casuals, we're not just, like, losing all the time either.
Right.
You know?
It's not just like they're...
Until you go over there and you really experience what Third Strike is all about, you'll see that the Japanese, even though they're the best players, they can still lose, too.
Right.
Right? There's no unbeatable player in Japan.
Not even Daigo.
Not even Daigo.
Not even Boss.
Not even Boss. And I mean, I've beat both those guys many times in casuals, you know? And I mean, that's just the way Third Strike is. That's why the best players like KO, Boss, they haven't even won an SBO yet. KO's lost every SBO he's gone. But, you know, to many people, KO is like one of the best Third Strike players ever.
Even though he's lost an SBO.
And that's just how it is. It's a very, very hard task to go all the way through. And last year's SBO winners, Umezono, Shiro Itachi, and Matsuda, you can ask any Japanese player, they were 100 to 1 shot to win SBO.
Wow.
You know? And Mester's team has won SBO twice now. And if you ask any player, they'd never expect Mester to win. You know, even though he's a great player, he's not the top player. You know, not one of the elite players.
So at that level of Third Strike, it's anybody's game.
It's anybody's game. Whoever is the best on that day, whoever's feeling it on that day, you know?
So how do you, when it comes time to tournament, like let's say SBO qual's coming up in 2 weeks at Family Fun, how do you get into the zone when you're playing in an important tournament? Do you meditate? Do you wake up early? Do you sleep in late? You know,
like, I honestly, when it comes to U.S. tournaments, I know it's going to sound kind of arrogant, but like every SBO qualifier, I've put it like back here behind me because it's like Japan is the goal and nothing's going to get in my way to get to Japan. You know, really confident that my team will always win the SBO qualifiers. You know, but yeah, when I go to Japan, it's definitely a lot of mental, realization because like when I compete in tournaments here in America, I know that we're the best players and the best players deserve to go. But in Japan, we're not the best players. So we have to play our hardest, our 100%, 200% game in order to win over there. You know what I mean? So as far as that goes, when I go to Japan, yeah, there's a lot of mental like focus and like meditation and a lot of visualization and stuff like that.
So you visualize yourself winning?
Not just like winning, but just playing the best I can play. You know,
so is this like the night before or the day of? You know,
like the whole time I'm there, pretty much. Yeah, just like saying, Mike, play your best. Don't let your nerves get over. Don't let your nerves, like I said before, take the physical side of yourself out of Third Strike. Just play the game, play your best. You know.
So it's all, you have your execution down to where you don't even think about it. You focus your mind when you're playing just on the game itself, not the physical motion of the joystick.
Right. I don't want to say, oh, you know what, I was nervous That's why I did bad.
Right.
That's why I lost.
Do you get nervous?
Oh yeah, for sure.
How do you handle that when you're in a tough situation in the tournament?
You're going to see when you go to SBO this year. It's a huge thing. I mean,
there's people watching.
It's like the WWE or something. There's like flames and there's an
flames.
announcer and there's smoke and music and the whole deal. There's a huge audience.
Wow.
It's a big deal. And every player is wanting to play 100% there. So the atmosphere is very tough,
Mm-hmm.
And when you're sitting down and the crowd is watching you play and the announcer is announcing you or they're rooting for you or whatever, that can take a toll on your gameplay, especially if you're like, oh yes, you got something. I got an Asian combo off. I don't want to miss it. If I miss this, it's horrible,
Right. But you don't even want to think like that.
You don't want that to influence you, And if you look at Daigo, when you look at Match when they play, a lot of the very tournament experienced players, it's like, especially Daigo, if you watch him play, it's like just a walk in the park for him. And I think that's why he's such a great tournament player, because in his mind, he's able to translate all of his skill in casual game and put it right into the tournament, unaffected by anything else, unaffected by the smoke and the lights and everything.
And how is he able to put that aside?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
He's just done. Maybe
Some
he's just done it so many times.
Some people are just mentally and I guess spiritually, mature and can do that stuff.
So when you miss something, okay, let's say you get a big opening. Maybe you got lucky. Maybe you got a parry, whatever. You have a big opening, and you miss something.
It can
happens.
It can be heartbreaking.
Whether it's your execution, the sticks, the buttons, whatever. You missed it. Now what? How do you recover?
Just like if you missed a combo in casual, and you still have that mindset where you can win. Let's say we're playing Yun versus Urian, and you tackle me. In the corner, and instead of doing a jab Aegis, you do a fierce Aegis, and it just goes right off the screen,
Right.
Imagine if you did that in SBO, and the guy just had a little bit of life, and that could have won you the match. That's probably going to be really heartbreaking for you.
Right.
Where in casual, you'd be like, oh my god, that's so stupid, you know? Let me still win. That's the kind of mindset you have to have, that you can always win no matter what. You're down, 1,000,000-1, you can still come back and win.
Because that's the kind of game that Third Strike is.
Yeah, exactly. You can always win
even
no
if you're
matter
not
what.
playing a character like Yuri and Makoto Yun that can do heavy damage with one opening, it's still totally possible to come back from any ridiculous situation every single time.
Dude, and I mean, when I think back to when I lost to Jay, that's exactly what he did to me, I mean, he was down by so much, and he still had that strength to come back and not, submit.
So when you're in that situation, let's say down 100% life to 1 pixel, no pixels, whatever, you're in SBO, you're down 1 round, what is your mentality? Do you try to build meter? Do you play safe? Do you go balls out?
That happened to me in the second SBO where we had to go against Pino's team. Arlieth went first, lost. Frank went next, lost. And this is against Pino, their first player. I went up and I just told myself, there's I did good last year at the first SBO. I'm not going to let my team go out like that at the second SBO. And I just played my hardest, I just played the best I could with confidence, and that was enough, Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the other person is just too on, and they were too much for your mind at the time.
Right.
And you just got to accept that. You can't win every game. You really can't.
So do you have any tricks to, turn it on?
Just stay confident. From what I've learned in tournaments, the second that you say, I'm not going to win, when you're down so much, or this guy's really good, I can't beat him, you're going to lose.
So everybody who's in a tournament and maybe they're not tournament winners and they get stacked up against one of the top players and they're like,
this
oh
guy,
my god,
they're like, this guy is so good, it's over. There's
and it's
no way
over
I can
before
beat him.
it's already started for them.
Exactly. Once you get that into your mind, it just seems that everything they do hits and everything they do works.
Right. So you have to play like you're going to win the whole time.
Yeah, you got to play with confidence. You always got to say, I can win. This person is just Chun-Li. This person is just Ken. And I've beaten Ken and Chun-Li before, and I could do it again.
It's not Daigo. It's not Nuki. It's
even
just
if it
Ken
is
and
Daigo
Chun.
and Nuki, it's still just Ken and Chun, and I can win. I can do it. They're not unbeatable. No one's unbeatable.
So with Yun, are you, when you're down to no life and the pressure's on, are you playing safe?
Sometimes when the pressure's really on, if you go super offense, that confuses the person because they're like, oh my god, I'm so close to beating him. He should be so scared because he's going to die, and then he's not.
Why isn't he scared?
Exactly, and that will hit them with something they don't expect, you know? Or you just... That's like really when the mentality comes into it, you know, where you're playing against the player necessarily.
Like, because you could say that you have several different gameplay scripts or programming for the different life situations and round situations when you're playing.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of times, like, especially like when we play Kai and stuff, I'll have a huge lead, and I'm like, this guy's such a dork, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just going to do whatever I want, and I'll end up losing because I didn't take it serious. I threw away my confidence to get flashy, or I just don't take the player seriously,
Right.
you know? It's always, every game you play, and usually I'm like this, every single game I play, whether it's casual, SBO, a random tournament, whatever, I play it like I'm at SBO and I want to play my best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes me a good tournament player, because I always want to play my best.
So it's never like, okay, well, we're just fucking around here.
Yeah, it's never, you know, this is a random scrub and I'm just going to joke around with him because I know I'm going to beat him. It's like, I want to double perfect this guy.
Yeah.
I want to beat him.
Yeah,
I want to do my
if
best.
this guy's not good, I'm going to ruin his night.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to like screw around with him. I'm like, get off the cabinet.
Get off
you
the
know,
cabinet.
yeah, exactly.
Get off the big boy cabinet.
Let me play somebody good so I can learn and get better.
Right.
I don't want to like waste my time.
Do you think that that's a different attitude than other players have?
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of players are like, this guy sucks, so I want to like embarrass him or like try stuff out on him and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, you know,
can't try anything out.
The time for practice and execution to try new things is at home, you know, the combos and stuff like that, you know. Maybe if you want to try like a tick throw setup or whatever, something a little bit new, that's cool, but don't like use them for a, you know, a practice dummy.
Right, because it's like, what's the point?
Because not only is it like a waste of your time, it's not helping them get better either, you know? If this guy's getting double perfected, he either has to get off the machine or in his mind say, I need to step my game up and learn. You know, and that's where the good players come from. Like, I mean, before you were going to Family Fun, Yi was a very poor player. You know, I mean, there's times, and Josh too, Shadini, there's times where we used to tell each other, you know, Yi and Shadini will never be good players. And now look at him. Yi's one of the best players, you know?
Yeah,
he used to play Ryu, but now his Ken is solid, very good. And same thing with Josh. Josh has leveled up immensely.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody like me who wasn't going to Family when you guys were all leveling up, I mean, to even consider that Shadini and Yi were not top players is like crazy, because ever since I've been going there, those guys are at the top.
But back in the day, Yi was like not a good player at all. Wow. Really. He used to play, I think, Ryu Denjin after following Frank, and yeah, he was like, oh my god, this guy will never be good.
And how do you think that he got better?
Because he had the strength to say, I want to get good at this. I want to dedicate and work at it to get good. And like anything in life, you know, if you put your motivation and all of your effort into something, you're going to get good at it, no matter what.
So how long did it take him from you guys being, oh, like, look at the scrub, what are we going to do with this guy, to, holy crap, you just won his first real tournament?
I'd say Ranking Battle 1 he won that ranking battle, the first ranking battle season, and that's when maybe a year before he had switched to Ken and really worked at it, really put a lot of time into it, and really wanted to get better, you know, wanted to be a top player. That's when he got good.
Wow.
You know, before, he was Ryu and just mess around and stuff like that, you know, not real serious.
Do you think that had he been able to put all his effort into Ryu, that he would have gotten to that level? I mean, is it the character or is it the player?
Yeah, I mean, you can't discount top-tier characters, you know? I mean, even though Boss's Ryu is insanely good, he's not going to win as many tournaments with Ryu as he will with, you know, Yun Makoto, Chun, or whatever.
Because you still have the tiers.
I'm not saying it's not impossible to win a tournament with Ryu, but in the long run, yeah.
Wow. You know? So to To win the most tournaments, you have to pick Chun or Yun. Or is it just Yun? Is Yun the top?
No, I'd say Chun Li is the top character, in my opinion. Chun Li, Ken, Yun, and Makoto are the top tier, 100% in my opinion.
Makoto's not
I don't think Makoto's outside the top tier. I think she's definitely in the top tier, and she can beat anybody. You know?
So
dude, Makoto's ridiculous sometimes.
Right, yeah,
know?
oh yeah.
Yeah. I think she's probably the most cheap character, honestly.
Right, because any situation...
One grab in the corner and it's over, no matter who you are.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Once that combo gets going, see you later.
You're out of luck. So,
Right.
would you say that with Makoto, when she's got, 1 meter or even one hit away from 1 meter, and you knock her down and she's got meter, do you go after her? Do you try to cross her up and take her out of the corner so that you're not even in that situation?
Yeah, my game against Makoto is when she has meter, I do not want to be in the corner with her. You know? I don't want to be in a position where she can get a grab and end the game. Even if she has no life, I'll just run away or I'll cross her up to get into the corner. It's not worth it.
Because one grab and
it's not like it's hard for her to get a grab. She has the grab has super priority and it's weird properties and everything. Mm-hmm. There's a very good chance that she can get a grab.
So what would you say to somebody who's, somebody's playing Ken, they knock her down and they run up and they try to do strong fierce, whatever, or short jab short. You would say, don't even put yourself in that situation?
Why? If you have the lead, let the time run out. Let her come after you, you don't have to win by life. You can win by time.
Right.
And that's where Ken's strength is, keeping Makoto out.
Because Ken can...
He has little moves to stop her from jabbing, an uppercut if things get dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
She can't really jump at him easily because of his uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
Why get grabbed? Why get 100% stunned into another abare? Why?
Right.
There's no reason. Just because you wanted to end the match?
No. Yeah, even though Makoto is one of those characters that can't... Let's say you let her up, or let's say you cross her up and then she blocks all this stuff. Now you have full life, and she's gotten one hit away from dying.
Yeah.
Now obviously, Makoto is at a disadvantage, but now what do you do to make sure that you don't give up that life lead?
Well, that's the thing. What's the main way you can give up that life lead?
You could say that you were taking unnecessary risks or sticking things out
I'm saying if you have full life and she has no life, what's the best way for her to take away your life? Grab super, right? So just don't give her that opportunity.
Run.
Run. Why?
Fireballs, low forwards, everything.
Just mashing low jab. What's she going to do? Hit you with a dash punch? Okay. Now she's in close, but you're still in the corner and she can't do anything.
Do you think that players will play different when they have their backs to the walls and after they've been, let's say Kenai is coming after you, and he's been coming after you, and you're running and running. Do you think that there's a number of seconds where people start to freak out and then start to get careless?
Dude, yeah, I think let's say you have a huge lead and Makoto has nothing, but somehow she gets you down to a quarter life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are going to freak out and they're going to be like, oh, my lead's gone. I got to end this match now. Rather than staying strong and being I'm still in the lead. And just because she was able to do many good things to get me this low doesn't mean she's going to take me out.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know sometimes it's heartbreaking when you have a huge lead and the opponent's doing really good and bringing that lead down quickly, but you're still in the lead. You still have the advantage, and you can't let that go. You can't let that get out of your mind. You can't let their momentum break down your mental game.
So you have to think about your character's best moves to stop the ridiculousness.
You've got to stay solid no matter what situation. You got to be confident no matter what situation. That's really what it comes down to, I'd say.
All right. Well, I think that we've talked about a lot of good stuff. SBO's coming up soon. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, you, Kenai, and Vic, or whoever it is, will come through, and we'll see you in Japan.
Well, thank you. I'll see you there.
Thanks, Pyro.